Most people walk past it every day without noticing. They mow it down, they poison it, they curse it for ruining their lawn. But there is a plant beneath your feet that followed the rise of empires, witnessed invasion, healed wounds across continents, and quietly became the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry without ever asking permission. Before we go any further, if you care about forgotten plants, lost knowledge, and the kind of wisdom that used to keep entire civilizations healthy, take a moment to subscribe to Golden Garden Vault. This channel exists to preserve what was almost erased, and you're exactly the kind of person this knowledge was meant for. Now, let's begin where the story truly starts. Long before laboratory coats, patents, and prescription pads, indigenous peoples across North America noticed something that made no sense at first. A plant began appearing everywhere Europeans walked. Not just near settlements, not just around farms, but along wagon trails, in prints pressed into dirt roads, in compacted soil where boots and hooves had passed again and again. Wherever the land was disturbed by foreign movement, this plant followed. It was so consistent that it couldn't be ignored. The elders gave it a name that captured what they were seeing with their own eyes. They called it white man's footprint. This wasn't poetry, it wasn't symbolism, it was observation. The earth itself seemed to respond to invasion by pushing this plant up through the soil, as if it were bearing witness. But here is the part that history often rushes past. This plant wasn't a curse, it wasn't harmful, it wasn't aggressive, it was medicine. And not just any medicine. This was a plant ancient physicians once described as unfailing, a remedy so dependable that it earned a reputation few plants ever achieved, a plant so effective that modern science eventually isolated its healing compounds and began manufacturing them in laboratories. Today, pharmaceutical companies sell those compounds back to you at premium prices, while another industry spends billions each year convincing you to destroy the original source, growing freely outside your door. This plant is plantain, not the banana-like fruit, not the tropical tree, but the low-growing broadleaf plant that lives in lawns, sidewalks, driveways, and fields across the world. To understand why something so common became so valuable, we need to travel back nearly 2,000 years. Around the year 40 AD, a Greek physician named Pedanius Dioscorides began compiling what would become the most influential medical text in human history. His work, De Materia Medica, documented the medicinal uses of plants across the Roman Empire. For the next 15 centuries, physicians relied on this text as the foundation of Western medicine. When Dioscorides reached Plantain, his language changed. He didn't hedge, he didn't speculate, he wrote with certainty. Use it for wounds, use it for burns, use it for bites from animals. Not suggestions, instructions. 3 decades later, Pliny the Elder expanded on this knowledge in Natural History. When he described plantain, he used a word Romans reserved only for remedies they trusted completely. He called it infallible, a plant that never failed when applied to bites, cuts, and injuries. This was the year 79 AD. Plantain had medical credibility older than Christianity itself. For the next 1,500 years, this knowledge didn't disappear. It was preserved quietly in monasteries across Europe. Monks cultivated plantain in their physic gardens, grinding the leaves into poultices for wounds, brewing teas for coughs and digestive issues, and carefully recording the outcomes. Generation after generation, the same results appeared. Faster healing, less infection, reduced inflammation. No mystery, no superstition, just repeatable results. Then came the 1600s. Puritan colonizers crossed the Atlantic carrying seeds unknowingly embedded in their clothing, tools, and supplies. Plantain arrived with them. And once it touched North American soil, it spread with astonishing speed. Wherever Europeans walked, plantain appeared. It thrived in crushed earth, compacted ground, and disturbed soil where native grasses struggled to survive. Indigenous peoples noticed immediately. They had never seen this plant before, yet it followed the colonizers as faithfully as a shadow. They called it white man's footprint. But what happened next is rarely taught. They didn't reject it, they tested it. And within years, tribes across North America had adopted plantain into their own healing traditions. They used it for snake bites, for infected wounds, for burns, for drawing poison from stings. The same uses Dioscorides recorded 16 centuries earlier, without contact, without shared language, without access to Roman texts. This wasn't cultural borrowing, this was independent confirmation across continents and centuries. By the mid-1800s, plantain was so woven into American life that Henry Longfellow Hiawatha dedicated an entire chapter of it in the Song of Hiawatha, Chapter 21, White Man's Foot. A plant that followed colonization had become a shared symbol of healing. But folklore alone doesn't convince the modern world. So let's talk about what happens when plantain meets the laboratory. In 2017, researchers in Indonesia conducted controlled studies using plantain extract on standardized wounds. They measured reepithelialization, the process by which new skin forms over an injury. The results were published in peer-reviewed journals. Wounds treated with plantain healed 25% faster than untreated controls. Not marginal improvement, not placebo, a measurable acceleration of healing. The following year, a small human pilot study examined plantain leaf tea for digestive discomfort. Participants drank the tea daily for 4 weeks. 67% reported significant symptom improvement.
2/3 of participants experienced relief from a plant growing in sidewalk cracks. Scientists didn't stop there. They isolated the compounds responsible. What they discovered was a precise biochemical system working together. First, aucubin, a powerful antimicrobial compound shown to inhibit bacteria responsible for most wound infections, including Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. Second, mucilage, a soothing gel-like substance that coats irritated tissue, reduces inflammation, and provides immediate relief on contact. And third, the compound that changes everything, allantoin. Allantoin stimulates cell regeneration. It accelerates wound closure. It reduces scarring. It tells damaged skin to repair itself faster. And this is where the story shifts. Because pharmaceutical companies know about allantoin. They've known for decades. They know it works, they know it's safe, they know it heals. So they synthesize it. They create a chemical copy in laboratories. Today, the global allantoin market is worth over $4 billion and is projected to reach nearly $10 billion within the next decade. Synthetic allantoin appears in wound ointments, burn treatments, scar creams, and anti-aging cosmetics. The FDA classifies it as a Category 1 skin protectant, safe, effective, approved for over-the-counter use. The wound care industry alone generates over $23 billion annually, selling products designed to do exactly what plantain has done freely for thousands of years. And while one industry sells you the copy, another industry works tirelessly to erase the original. The lawn care industry. Herbicides from major brands are specifically formulated to kill broadleaf plants like plantain. Chemicals such as 2,4-D, dicamba, triclopyr, and glyphosate are marketed aggressively with one clear message: plantain is a weed. Plantain is ugly. Plantain ruins your lawn. But plantain isn't invasive, it's adaptive. It thrives where soil is compacted because its deep taproot breaks up hard pan earth, aerating the ground and improving conditions for other plants. Its presence isn't a problem, it's a diagnosis. It tells you the soil is stressed. And it does something else the labels never mention. It feeds you. Young leaves can be eaten raw. Older leaves cook like spinach. Nutritional analysis shows high vitamin C, calcium, vitamins A and K, iron, magnesium, potassium, and trace minerals your body uses every day. But more than food, plantain is emergency medicine, right now. A bee sting? Chew a leaf into a pulp and apply it. The mucilage draws out venom while antimicrobial compounds reduce infection. A cut in the garden? Crush a leaf between your fingers and press it on the wound. Allantoin begins stimulating cell repair immediately. Poison ivy or skin irritation? Brew a strong tea and wash the area. Inflammation and itching often calm within minutes. This is why monks grew it, why ancient physicians trusted it, why indigenous peoples adopted it instantly, because it works. Not metaphorically, not spiritually, chemically, measurably, reliably. And this is why plantain had to be rebranded as a weed. Because if you recognize it as medicine, you don't need a prescription, you don't need a patent, you don't need a product with a profit margin attached. So look down next time you walk outside. Look at the rosette of oval leaves pressed flat to the ground. Notice the parallel veins running lengthwise like strings on an instrument. See the thin flower spike rising from the center. Once you learn it, you'll see it everywhere. White man's footprint. But maybe that name never told the full story. Maybe it isn't about invasion. Maybe it's about witness. A plant that watched history unfold, that healed the wounds of those who arrived and those who were already here, that survived every attempt to erase it. Look at your lawn again. That isn't a weed. That's a 2,000-year-old pharmaceutical factory growing wild. And it's still there, still working, still healing, waiting for you to remember. If this changed how you see what grows around you, subscribe to Golden Garden Vault. Share this with someone who still thinks plantain is just a weed. And remember this, some medicine is too effective to patent, some plants are too valuable to kill, and some footprints are worth following.